But as we work to improve Americans' health care, there are those who want to take away your health care, take away your doctor, and abolish private insurance entirely. 132 lawmakers in this room have endorsed legislation to impose a socialist takeover of our health care system, wiping out the private health insurance plans of 180 million very happy Americans. To those watching at home tonight, I want you to know we will never let socialism destroy American health care.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was President Donald John Trump, the 45th President of the United States of America, at the State of the Union address just a few weeks ago here in Washington, D.C., who made it abundantly clear, ladies and gentlemen, that we will never be a socialist nation. Although we do have a mixed economy, we will never pride ourselves on taking another man's property and calling it rightfully someone else's. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, there is a woman working extremely hard from Hawaii to the Virgin Islands to make certain that there is no longer socialized medicine in the United States, that the threat is taken away from us. Brooke McGowan, who is the co-founder of MAGA Institute, you can find her at Brooke McGowan7 on Twitter. You can find her on Facebook as well, but you can also find her work at StopSocializedMedicine.org. I want to introduce to some, present to others, the beautiful and vivacious Brooke McGowan. Good evening, Ms. McGowan. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great, Ken. Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you again.
It's great seeing you again. Listen, you are a high flyer. You were just in Washington, D.C. a few days ago. Now you're in beautiful Hawaii. I got to ask you, how do you keep the energy up to fight coast to coast, island to island, for the good of the nation?
You know, I am tired, but we can't stop the fight, Ken. You know, we've been in this for years, decades even. It's just who we are. We can't stop the fight. I thought I would move to Hawaii and actually get a little respite, a little rest from the battlefield, but it's turned out that I've only gotten in even deeper.
Exactly. It's a deep state. It really is. Listen, Brooke, first and foremost, MAGA Institute. What exactly is MAGA Institute? Is this a new college started by the president?
No, this is not another Trump University.
Okay.
What we're doing at MAGA Institute is we have instituted or really set out the groundwork for something called crowdsourcing in the country for people to volunteer and join our network, and our impetus is to vet candidates for the Republican primaries. We're getting a little late in the game right now because I know we've got another primary tomorrow. Super Tuesday was last week. But we are vetting candidates and calling them MAGA Institute certified, Ken, if they meet the America First agenda and are following along with the MAGA doctrine, which we believe to be, you know, that deplorable doctrine, that thing that makes America great. And so that's what we're doing together, and we're just excited about it, and thank you for letting me speak of it.
Brooke, you know that there are a lot of candidates out there that will say privately to you, I'm really behind the president. But publicly, I don't always agree on everything the president says. Does that fit the MAGA Institute agenda in any kind of, is that the kind of candidates y'all have?
Well, that's the kind of candidates that are out there for sure. You know, people, because of the vitriol and the division that we have in our nation, people are afraid, Ken. Yeah. Often they are afraid. And people like on the ground, like you and me, not you and me necessarily, yeah, but people at our level. If you run for Congress and you're going to claim to be caring about the principles that keep us great, then you need to be standing behind him. You don't need to be working against him like they did in the first Congress in 2016 through 2018 under Paul Ryan. That's why MAGA Institute is why we are, what we are doing, why we are doing it. We don't want any more Justin Amash's or Mitt Romney's calling themselves Republicans. We are going to vet them. We are going to do the deep dives. We are doing the hard work, and we hope that you can get behind us.
Now, MAGA Institute and the work that you do, and I forget the co-founder, if you could tell me the
Timothy Shea.
Timothy Shea, yes. Timothy Shea, great guy. Had a wonderful pleasure talking with him. Look forward to following up with him. But you guys are also instrumental in terms of fighting one of the greatest threats that our founding fathers knew could take place. In fact, Benjamin Franklin said, it's a republic as long as you can keep it. The greatest threat is the whole idea of surrendering to totalitarian ideologies, and that our healthcare system is socialized and taken from us. Now, let me be the devil's advocate here and say, what's wrong with you Republicans? You just don't want people to have good health insurance, right? Right, Brooke?
Well, you know, that's not true. What we want is the free market to determine that. We don't want the government to determine that. You know, when the government gets involved in anything, you end up with what was happening to the VA for many years. Now, we've straightened that out under President Trump a lot, but it's not perfect yet, and neither is the DMV. You know, there's nothing that's going to be perfect that the government's going to control, because you've got thousands and thousands of people and bureaucracies and just flawed individuals and flawed systems. The free market should determine. We didn't get that chance in 2016 under Paul Ryan, and we hope that once we flip the House back to a Republican House in this fall, and also a MAGA Republican House, not just Republican, but we want America First MAGA, right?
That's right.
We want Republicans that are doing the job for the American people. And that's what we're working really hard toward and fighting, and as well as stopping the surprise medical billing, something that my group, combined with Americans for Limited Government and other think tanks in D.C., has been raising awareness to, and that surprise medical billing, which I know you've heard the president speak of. He's tweeted about it. He's talked about it at his rallies. And that is, you know, we're seeing surprise bills show up for people who've gone to get a regular colonoscopy or some kind of procedure, and then they get a bill later. This is an unintended consequence of Obamacare. This is why we are angry that they didn't take care of it when they needed to in 2016, 17, and 18. Yes. And so we're fighting that. The president wants surprise medical billing to stop, and so do we. Now,
when you say surprise medical billing, is that something that's just limited to Medicaid and Medicare, or is that a situation in which the average American citizen can show up at an emergency room and then get knocked out with something else?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So what's happening across the whole country is patients are getting care, and then they are getting the bill 2 weeks later, and it's a couple $1,000 to $5,000 more maybe. Some people don't have that, and most people don't have that sitting around to be spent like that when they expected their bills to be covered. It's out-of-network stuff when you expected it to be in-network. It's the insurance companies trying to make up for what they've lost during Obamacare years, and we're taking the hit for it. And so, you know, as patients, we're taking the hit. Americans are taking the hit. President Trump and many of the Republicans want to stop that. One bill that's being offered is by Lamar Alexander, and it's akin to the bill that happened in California, which it's bad. I mean, what's happened there is it's harming rural hospitals, and it's causing private practices to close down. So what we're asking, even though Lamar Alexander is a Republican, we're asking for other options to be cared for and to be looked at deeply. There's such a thing called, and that's price control, right? Yes. But there's such a thing that can happen where you can have an arbitrator do the arbitration between the patient and the insurance company, or the patient and the clinic, or the patient and the hospital. And that's what Phil Rowe out of Texas is doing, as well as a senator out of Louisiana. And so we're asking them to dig deeper, go deeper, dig harder. Don't just go with the easy thing, because that's going to be one step closer to single payer.
Now, Brooke, there are people listening tonight that are saying amen to you. I went to the emergency room. I had a colonoscopy. I had a simple procedure at the hospital. And I don't know where they had the permission to charge me these particular fees. I don't know how that happened. Does it happen because people sign away their liberties to the hospital to charge them anything that they want?
It happens because there are contracts that are made, there are contracts that are taking place at that facility. And maybe somewhere down the line where you thought your whole procedure was going to be in network, somebody else was brought in last minute, maybe a different anesthesiologist that was out of network. Anyway, somebody inside that contract. So that's where that major bill comes up, because they're trying to make up for the difference. It's called balancing the bills. They're trying to make it up. And really it means that we're making it up and we're taking the hit. And President Trump has been tweeting about it and talking about it and encouraging the right answer. We do continue to ask that Lamar's bill does not get accepted, but something else can be, and something, you don't just take the easy answer. We don't just take the easy route as conservatives. We have to find the thing that will help the most people possible. Exactly.
Now, just one final question regarding this. The American citizen is watching you tonight, and they're saying, yeah, I got hit with that, and there's no doggone way. I don't have enough kitty in the little coin container that I have to pay for this stuff that you're talking about. How do I stop that from happening to me? How do I get rid of this particular bill? How do I overcome all of this?
Well, I would never ask somebody to go into debt, credit debt like that, but I do want them to consider what their options are. And the first thing to do is to go to our site. We've partnered with Rick Manning at Americans for Limited Government, as well as other think tanks, and that site is stopsocializedmedicine.org. And your listeners can put in their zip code, and then it'll take them someplace where they can actually tell their story. They can talk to their congressperson. They can give them what's going on in their life, and then their stories will be heard. Hopefully there will be enough awareness that's brought about this that we can stop this long before we ever decide or ever allow single-payer system or socialized medicine. That is not the answer.
And you're working with Americans for Limited Government in terms of doing that. We place that in our chat room. We're encouraging people to go to that particular website tonight. Tell your congressman to get on board. It only takes a few of them, both Democrat and Republican, to take the heave-ho towards passing the bill in the House and Senate, thus eliminating surprise medical billing. All of us have been hit at least one time with it, and we understand what it's like not to have the assurance that your insurance company can cover all of the costs without you getting hit. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you're fighting socialism, but isn't that a form of price control, what you're trying to do? Isn't that a form of socialism?
No, what we're trying to do is to allow a third party arbitrate the situation, arbitrate that $2,000 bill.
Thank you.
The price control is the bad answer.
Yeah.
Because that is single payer. Single payer is price control, which also is socialism, socialized medicine. That's just the next thing in the trajectory after single payer. It doesn't matter if it's a Republican like Lamar Alexander or if it's a crazed AOC out of New York. We are against single payer and socialized medicine, and we will stand and fight that forever.
Brooke, one other quick question about this in terms of stopping socialized medicine. There are others who are out there who are saying that pharmaceutical companies are taking advantage of the American people. And Virginia earlier today sent to the governor's desk a bill that would lower the amounts that individuals pay for insulin to the amount of $50 per month. Is that going to positively impact the situation, or are we just creating another FDR type socialized medicine in terms of trying to do price controls on one prescription and allowing others to go haywire?
So you bring up a great point. You know, one of the things that we're interested in is turning the Republican Party into people who care about our bills and care about our prices, care about these sorts of things, and that's why we're doing what we're doing at MAGA Institute. You know, if you're concerned about turning the Republican Party and the House of Representatives toward more conservative issues and MAGA America First agenda, then you need to get on board with us at MAGAinstitute.com. We're definitely concerned about these issues. We talk about these issues a lot on our Facebook page, MAGA Institute on Facebook, MAGA_Institute at Twitter. These are the things that we're discussing all the time. You know, we have to fight against socialism, Ken. We've got to never, ever, ever give up. We've got to stand against even the Republicans that have in their pockets the hands from big pharma that you mentioned, and big insurance and big tech. And that's why we're digging in deep. When we do this vetting for these candidates, I'm not talking about just watching their websites. I'm talking about going to followthemoney.org and open secrets and open the books to see who's actually supporting them. That's why we are where we are right now, because Republicans didn't fight this in 2016 in the congressional years that they had the opportunity to, because many of them have big pharma and big insurance in their pockets.
Now, you're not trying to stop, because you and I will agree that the First Amendment is open to corporations as well as individuals to support candidates. But it seems nefarious, whether Republican or Democrat, that you pay closer attention to the guys that can raise $100,000, $200,000 for you, rather than those individuals who are giving $20 out of their paycheck to support your campaign. Is this disingenuous?
No, you're absolutely right. That's why a better campaign always consists of people who have thousands of followers that give them $100 rather than one person who's given them $100 grand. I mean, that's why we're doing this vetting, so we can give this information to the public.
MAGA Institute, what are the key states that you're interested in for 2020?
Well, of course, North Carolina and Texas was just this week, you know, on Super Tuesday. We care about those races. We're following those runoffs. California, you know, the jungle primary out there makes it just sort of nutty, but we'll never give up on California because we have lovely, lovely conservatives out there. You know, there's swing states. There's Wisconsin and Michigan and Minnesota and Pennsylvania and Ohio and Florida, all these states that we're concerned with. So we're watching every Republican primary, and we will be reporting on it at MAGAinstitute.com.
Does my vote matter? There's lots of people who are thinking tonight, Bernie Sanders, rigged campaign. Does my vote make any difference?
Yes, so for sure it does. You've got to get out there, because they are getting out there. And really, we've been hearing about voter fraud, but the truth of the matter is, Ken, that's called illegal voting. We see it in Pennsylvania and Florida and certainly in California. So just because it looks really good in the rallies and maybe Biden only brings in 200 people, but Trump brings in 20,000, we can't get complacent when it comes time to vote, certainly in the primary. So go to MAGAinstitute.com to see who to vote for in your primary, in your congressional primary, but also in November it matters. We've got to be in every runoff. We've got to make sure we show up for every time we can vote between now and November, including November. Your vote does count. Make sure that your voice is heard.
And the reason I asked you that is that I'm hearing a lot of Republicans say, Ken, Brooke, listen, Trump's got this. I don't even need to show up. You got to absentee. You got to vote. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're fighting against. Brooke McGowan, MAGA Institute, and also Stop Socialized Medicine. This is what we're fighting.
I think we need to be candid with voters. I think we have to tell them what we're going to do and what it's going to cost.
What Joe forgets to say is when you leave the current system as it is, what you are talking about are workers paying, on average, 20% of their incomes for health care. That is insane.
What I don't agree with is that his position on health care.
Look, we've talked about health care for all in this country for over 100 years. Now is the time to take on the greed and corruption of the health care industry, of the drug companies, and finally provide health care to all through a Medicare for all single-payer program. It won't be easy, but that is what we have to do.
Again, I think it is much better to build on the Affordable Care Act.
Medicare for all, which will guarantee comprehensive health care to every man, woman, and child, will cost substantially less than the status quo.
You have to show how you're going to pay for it.
On the Medicare for all, one of the provisions we have to pay for it is a 4% tax on income, exempting the first $29,000. So the average family in America that today makes $60,000 would pay $1,200 a year, compared to that family paying $12,000 a year.
Yeah, join the movement, ladies and gentlemen. That's called socialism. Don't go by Bernie Sanders' numbers. He doesn't have a calculator. It just comes out of his head, ladies and gentlemen. Brooke McGowan, thank you so much for being with us tonight. What are the 2 places that people need to go right now?
Awesome. MAGAinstitute.com, MAGA Institute on Facebook, or certainly if you're interested in talking to your congressional representative about socialized medicine, go to stopsocializedmedicine.org, and let's stop surprise medical billing together.
All right. We'll be right back right after these messages, ladies and gentlemen. Brooke, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We got a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen.